So we've created the trial balance. We have a nice, neat trial balance. It's been sorted according to the elements of the financial statements, as well as the financial statements themselves. So we now are going to use this trial balance and prepare our statements of changes in equity, the statements of financial position, and your profit and loss. The nice thing about having it set up this way is you really can sort of read them off here. As long as you've set them up properly, your financial statements are going to be a lot easier to create as long as you have the correct format, as long as you have the right format in your head. So it's really important that you make sure that you've got the right format, that you can draw up a blank set of financial statements, as it were, and make sure that you understand where everything goes. In an exam, you want to save your thinking time for calculations, for figuring out what the information means. You don't want that to be the time that you spend a lot of time figuring out how to draw up financials. So what I've done is I've given you blank financial statements for you to fill in to begin with. You'll notice I've given you all the headings, and we've spoken about how important it is to make sure that your headings and the title of your financial statements are the same, they are right, that the format is completely your date we've spoken about before. Your statement of profit and loss, or loss and other comprehensive income, talks about the period ended, whereas your statement of changes in equity, that one also talks about the period that's ended. Your statement of financial position talks about it's as at, okay? It's not for the period ended, it is as at a certain date. So be very careful about how you write those dates out. I've also given you little columns, and again, whenever we put blocks around something in accounting, it means that we're going to use that to add up. So we kind of have an idea in our head of what these are going to look like. So what we need to do first is our statements of profit and loss. The reason we do this first is because by now we should be aware of the fact that if our client makes a profit or loss, this actually is going to affect our equity. So the first thing we're going to do is calculate exactly what that profit or loss would be. If you did your statements of financial position or your statements of changes in equity first, you'd have to leave a little blank space in there because you wouldn't be able to figure out what the profit is, and you can't get to the equity until you've actually put in your profit. So it makes sense to go and do your statement of profit and loss first. It is possible, obviously, to do the rest of them, but we want to make this flow. We want to make sure it makes as much sense as possible. So what we need to know now pretty much is take all of our items, our income and our expenses, and we plug them into our statement of profit or loss and other income. Keep in mind, again, we've spoken before about the difference between revenue items and your other income. We separate your revenue items from your other gains or your other income based on what it is the core company, what it is that the company does, where their core revenue comes from. In this case, Tim makes his money from garden services. So it means that the stuff and the income relating specifically to garden services is going to be revenue. Other income that he gets, maybe he rents out the vehicle, maybe he rents out property. Other income that he gets that's not directly related to his core business is going to be considered your other comprehensive income. So what we're going to do first is identify exactly what relates to his revenue, his specific expenses. So we would kind of calculate his direct revenue, and then we take off the costs from there. So let's take a look at it. The first one we always start with is revenue, and his services rendered, we can see, was 2,650. So in your, let's put it about here, so I know I have space. In your financial statements, this is our revenue. Revenue always gets a note. We need to tell the users how our revenue is calculated. We need to tell our users exactly what our revenue is based on. So we'll see that there's a little note there, and you can take a look at it now. Right at the bottom of the second page, you'll note, number one, we'll take a look at it just now. Number two, revenue is measured at the fair value of the consideration received or receivable. So here we're telling users what it is that we're measuring our revenue at. What this is trying to say, the fair value of the consideration received, is basically saying the money, the specific amount of money that I'm going to receive or that I expect to receive. All this is saying is that they want you to record revenue at the amount of money that you believe you're actually going to get for it. So for example, if I sell someone an item for 100 Rand, that means that I've got revenue of 100 Rand. But what if I expect that person to only pay me 90 Rand because they run out of money, for example? Have I made a sale? Is my revenue 100 Rand or is it 90 Rand? What this is saying is the fair value of the consideration received says exactly how much are you getting in there, and whatever you're getting in is what your revenue is measured at. So we're telling the users that we are taking into account the possibility that our clients may not pay us. We are taking into account the possibility that we may give discounts later on. We are taking that into account, and we are measuring the revenue at what is actually going to be received rather than just what may be on the invoice. So that's what we're telling them there. In this case, revenue from fees earned for services rendered to client consists of the net invoiced fees excluding VAT and settlement discount. Again, we're giving them an indication of how this is actually calculated. VAT we'll get onto in the next chapter, and settlement discount we'll get onto as well. So all we're doing here is stating that this is how the revenue is measured, so that anyone reading these knows what is in there and what isn't in there. These you need to know, be able to write these out, get used to writing them out. That is going to stay the same. So we've put in our revenue, our 2650, and when you are working off of the trial balance, very good idea to tick the item off so that you know that you have dealt with it and you don't do it again. The next item we have is interest received, but interest received, although we put it in the profit and loss, isn't related to his direct revenue. So you'll see in this case that's actually going to come in underneath our expenses, because he is not, his core business is not making interest. It's not investing money and receiving interest. So that will actually kind of put below the line, as it were, because it's not related to his direct expenses. So our interest received has been dealt with. Wages, petrol, advertising, and salaries are his expenses. So those we're going to put in as specific expenses. Those are separate line items, so we want to separate them. So what we call this, we have a little heading, our distributions. And again, this is standard. You need to know this. Administrative, and other expenses. And that total is going to go in there, so we can add all of it up. Then we do this one by one. We had wages, and our wages was 400. We have petrol, and if I'm not mistaken, that was 870. We have advertising at 3930. 3930, and we have salaries at 30,000. So those are the total costs. You can see I'm tabbing this in slightly, so I'm just giving a little bit of an indent between where I start here, and that also gives me the indication that this is part of a subtotal. I add those up. So those are all my expenses. I don't have any other expenses to record, and that's going to give me 35,200. We put a little bracket around that to indicate that that needs to be deducted. So we now have our revenue, and we have our distributions, administrative and other expenses. So our revenue was 2650, and he had expenses of 35,200. We had other income, our interest received of 54, which gives me a grand total of 32,496. So this gives me an indication of the fact that he actually made a loss for the year. So this is our loss, for the month. His loss for the month. So if we take a look at what we've done here versus our trial balance, you can see how useful the financial statements are. You can see how useful a statement of profit or loss is, because we've taken information, and instead of just putting it underneath each other, we're actually showing you the effect of that. So you wouldn't have been able to tell without doing your own calculations here what his profit or loss was, but here it's all nice and neat. Again, if you compare this to what we had in the general ledger, although these balances are the same, just the way that we're dealing with them, the way that we're presenting them to users makes it a lot easier for them to see at a single glance exactly what the performance for this company was for the month. Because remember, your statement of profit or loss relates to the performance. Go and take a look at this a little bit further. Make sure that you are comfortable with your performance. The next one I'm going to do is the statement of changes in equity. We haven't focused on this one too much, and this one's quite brief. What it's talking about is identifying and telling the users exactly what's happened to the equity through the month, the value changes in equity through the month. So he started his business at the beginning. This gives you an indication of any additional capital that's been put in, drawings that's been taken out, as well as obviously the effect of the profit. So this shows you exactly how equity moves and allows people to see what the owner's value or the owner's share in the business is. So we start off by identifying what contribution we have. Our capital contribution is the contribution, the amount that the owner has put in. Your contribution at the 2nd of March, because that was his first. And you can see back on our trial balance, our statement of changes in equity items are over here, your capital and your drawings. So the very first item and the very first capital contribution that he had, if we go back to our general ledger, you'll see was 100,000. During the month, he created additional contributions. So it gives us an indication that there was more than just the one. He created additional contributions of 18,400, and those were for equipment and the computer that he put in. Go and take a look at your general ledger for that. We need to put in the loss for the month because we know that our profit and loss is going to be taken to equity. So the loss for the month is going to reduce, obviously, the value the owners share in the business, and that is 32,496. Again, you can see how important it is to get your calculations correct because they follow through. If you get your calculation there wrong, you can see that your equity figure is going to be incorrect as well. So we've got to be very sure and very specific about how we do this. We then add our drawings, and our drawings was 2,000, so he took 2,000 as well, and obviously we deduct that. So his capital or the equity moved. He started with 100, he added another 18,400 in. There was a loss of 32,496, which we got from our statement of profit and loss, and there were drawings of 2,000, which gives him equity value of 83,904. And based on what the guy put in at the beginning, 118,000, it seems a little bit sad. It's very clear that his value in the business has actually decreased. Again, it's not so easy to tell from just your trial balance or your general ledgers. From here, it's very difficult to find out what his actual position is. If you just looked at the capital account, everything looks great. He's got 118,000 in capital, which is equity. It's very hard to tell. These numbers at the bottom here, the 244, don't actually represent how much he owns. It doesn't actually represent his value in the business. So you'd be mistaken to look at that and say, oh, hey, look how much there is, because that's just your debits and credits. But looking at his financials so far, it's very clear that he's made a loss for the month. And obviously that loss has impacted the owner's share in the business, his equity. So as a user, if I was going to consider investing in this company, or if he wanted me to invest, I'd actually be a little bit concerned about the value that he has lost throughout the month. So I'd really hope at some point in time that he managed to increase his revenue. If he increased his revenue, you could see how all of this would flow through and actually increase his equity. Take a look at this. I suggest you go back and do this yourself. It's all well and good that you can get the calculations right, and when you look at it, it makes sense. Please make sure that you can do this yourself from scratch. Again, the terminology, the names, very important that you get those right. Your contributions, the way that the stuff is set up. Make sure you do it quickly in an exam. Make sure you can get there, you can get the basic structure, and then you're going to get a lot more marks from that. So take a look at this one, do this one for yourself, and then we're going to go and do the statement of financial position together as well.